Thank you for coming.
Craig. My dev name is CCP Flying Scotsman. If I get drunk enough, you might see why. And I'm the game design director for EVE Online. We are here to speak about Crucible. We're going to run through some of the highlights that we thought were there, but mostly the sessions to talk about Crucible and what it meant to you guys. So we will be taking a lot of questions. So Crucible. What was Crucible? What was it, Soundwave?
Crucible was a massive collection of things that we've been storing up. A lot of stuff that we wanted to work on for years and years and years and just never got to. And when the day came that they asked us to do a big spaceship-themed expansion, we had all the components in a box just waiting to go in. So it was exactly the right thing at the right time, in my opinion.
It had spaceships.
Yeah, spaceships.
So, so what was in Crucible? There was a lot in there. We're going to look at some of the highlights. Now, to you guys, these might not be the highlights. I went through the design team. These were the highlights for some of those guys. So, spaceships. Internet spaceships are serious business. We did some logistic ship balancing. We rebalanced the destroyers. We did assault frig balancing. And we put four new Tier 3 battle cruisers in there, which are pretty shiny.
And cap ships.
That was not in the list.
The thing about this list is...
This is just highlights.
Yeah. The funny thing about the logistic ship balancing, maybe it doesn't seem like that big a deal compared to some of the other stuff, but at the time we had CCP Tallest, who was doing quite a lot of our rebalancing work together with Eterbium and Grayscale, of course. He was just kind of coming into it, and this was his first training assignment. So when people were like, why are you doing logistic ships before capitals? Well, the simple truth is that he was just getting into it, and some of the smaller stuff you saw were basically the training ones that led up to him doing the cap ship. So that's just a little bit of insight. A little bit insight shot from the hip.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
Modules. We did more modules. I found this picture. It's great. We showed more discos in the game. Tech 2 module tweaking. It's a good picture. New shields modules added. New Tech 2 modules. And we did hybrid weapon balancing.
Yeah.
You guys might want to talk about this once we're taking questions. But in Tallest's credit, I think he did a good job.
A lot of the T2 ones was also Eterbium. That, again, was on stuff that we don't really have to do a lot of exploratory work and a lot of pre-design. We basically had a list of slots that we hadn't filled out. We just had about 30 modules that didn't have a Tech 2 equivalent, and stuff like that was just really quick to churn out, just to get as much as possible into that expansion. We did a quick iteration on them afterwards, and they've turned out pretty cool.
Yeah, we were filling some of the gaps that needed to be filled. And as you said, we did some iteration on the after them, and that's a theme you'll see recurring. Industry, we did customs offices, which have proved to be quite interesting, and fuel blocks. Grayscale will be very, very happy to hear that round of applause. He got really excited about fuel blocks. Look and feel. So we did some things to make things more, shiny.
Can I grab the customs offices quickly?
Yes, you can grab whatever you like.
Oh, really?
We're very close.
So customs offices were actually done by the team that's, or at least at that time was working on the Dustlink. And they're in low sec, so the amount of traffic that feature gets compared to something like mission running in Empire is minimal. But what came out of it, the way people interacted around this, we had a guy at the office, CCP Betik, who basically had this dream of becoming a customs office mogul. So he'd take over these custom offices in low sec And after a while, some corporation decided to take him from him because he hadn't really thought about how he'd keep it. So he'd be running around the office going like, shit, I need help with my customs office. Can anyone help me out today? And most people are like, oh. And I love that dynamic of it, that that kind of sense of ownership of small things. Like there's enough that they might feel insignificant, but to the people who own them and run them, there's like not just the act of having them, but also the hopes and dreams of building something bigger. And I think to a large extent, the magnificent thing about Eve is empire building. And this is kind of like a kind of a microcosm of that. And I like after this, I keep wondering if we shouldn't just open them up in empire as well. Like if you're an empire industrialist wanting to build like a massive trade empire, why wouldn't you own every customs office in like a region in Caldari space? I mean, why not?
Yep, we have been talking about it.
Maybe I'll just do that.
Stuff in his magical invisible notepad though.
Mm-hmm.
Look and feel. We did some shinies, as I was saying. So, new Neocom. It's kind of shiny and nice. And the UI scaling, which is great. I love the UI scaling. I have it across both of my monitors. It's pretty. Oh, I think I'm going blind though, but that's another matter.
That's a great feature, so we can get people my mom's age to play Eve. Now we just actually need to get them to play Eve. It's like, you can play Eve, but we don't want to. It's like, oh God.
Let's not discriminate age-wise. I'm getting on a bit. You know, pretty things. This is a lot of the art stuff. So the nebula, which we've been talking about for a very long time, we got those in finally, and they're just so nice, so very pretty. I don't know what you guys think of them, but I adore them.
Yeah.
Engine trails, yay! Sorry?
I don't think we've ever had something as small and insignificant-ish that there was such a large request for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like spinning ships, for example. Spinning ships is
we may get to that.
But like the little like colored trail after your ships, and people just went ballistic when that was taken out, and getting that back in was really, really cool. The Nebulas as well. I mean, look at EVE Online. We're here 9 years running. Next year will be the 10th anniversary of EVE. And when you look at the Nebulas and some of the in-space art, it doesn't really look like a game from 2003. And I think that's key to it. And the Nebulas are just incredible, incredible.
We're constantly updating the art. We're trying to improve things, keep ourselves relevant. You know, if you look at games that came out around at the same time as EVE, yeah, you're not going to play them. They're ugly as sin. EVE still is a pretty game. So we did the Doomsday devices and the Sino fields, which, once again, this is one of these little things where people are like, no, it has to be like the old Sino field. No, I want the old one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we can make it prettier. No, we want the old one. And hey, who are we to argue? I still think it looks really good. As I said, we're getting the ship spinning. Hell. I don't even have to say much about ship spinning. They are really.
I came in here last night and they'd set up all the workstations and all this stuff, and like the first thing I did, I didn't even think about it. Just went over to the computer and just started spinning the chip on the screen. And I was talking to someone, and then I caught myself and I was, holy shit, that's why. So then Cameron, I don't remember his CCP name, one of our programmers, he was like, but if you open like the preview of the ship and the fitting screen, if you're really fast, you can spin all three. And I was like, no. And he just went to work, and he was spinning the same ship 3 times on the same screen. It was wonderful.
Ship spinning. Reduction in the session change timer. No.
Yeah.
There you go. Sharing corp bookmarks.
And this was kind of a rage feature by me, because I've been toying around a bit in wormhole space, because wormhole space is pretty awesome. And I don't know if you guys are in wormhole space, but a lot of people, a lot of corporations and alliances will basically have this common can where they'll deposit the bookmarks in every day, and you'll have to go and you'll have to copy. And I was kind of shocked by the process of this, because having lived in 0.0 It's never really anything I've interacted with. Hold on, sorry. I have like 3 microphones on me, and one of them is being kind of a dick. All right, sorry. So anyway, so I move out to this wormhole place, and I warp to this can. I take these bookmarks into my cargo hold because it would be too simple to just copy them into your bookmark folder. And then I have to put them in a few at a time. But then there's other people, so I have to copy them back, and you can only do that 5 at a time, but I have to put them back to my cargo hold first. So I start filling them out 5 at a time, and I put them back. And it's just like everyone in wormholes has to do this, and I was like, nope, not doing that. This is just too big a waste of my time, and then corp bookmarks.
Yeah, and finally on this one, time dilation. No, it's really nice. We've got a couple of the guys across there. Give us a wave, Brian.
Howdy.
Yeah.
I know, just lots of little things, like the loot all option, which, really? It took us this long? Really? Rubber band selection.
Couldn't we have given it a fancier name?
What?
Loot all.
That's good. It works. It says exactly what it does on the tin.
Yeah,
It's
but I
perfect.
mean, it's a sci-fi. It could be like a cargo optimization.
No, this is why we don't let you write. No.
All right, loot all.
Yeah, I know.
Fair enough.
Rubber band selection, Windows has had this for a very long time. Why can't we have it? Jump bridge UI enhancements. And, my personal favorite, ship spinning counter. I'm not going to tell you how much I've got up to because it's embarrassing.
There was a lot of politicking in the ship spinning counter.
I know.
There was a lot of like, we can't possibly put that in. That's immersion breaking, and people will die. And kind of the trade-off was, well, I mean, hopefully no one dies from it, but the trade-off was that it'll only come up after the 10th one. So it's not something that's constantly on your screen, but for the people who enjoy it, and there's certainly people who enjoy it. I've seen YouTube videos of people getting thousands and thousands and thousands of spins, and I hope they're doing it by a bot or some sort of automation, because if you get to 50,000 spins or something, and you're doing it by hand,
It keeps your hands busy. It's fine.
You might have
It's
an
fine.
issue. There might be something broken somewhere. But anyway, so we put it in, and it's really cool. And I'm actually a little bit sad that playing around with it yesterday, I'm a little bit sad it's not in space. That might be a little
Well,
bit
we'll see what we can
over the top.
So that was Crucible. That was a selection of Crucible. There was a lot more in there. I'm sure you guys have things that stand out to you. That's what I'm getting to. So, Crucible and you. Crucible meant a lot to us. It was back to basics. It was getting back to our roots, doing spaceships. But what did it mean to you guys? We just want to open the floor and have a chat about Crucible.
Questions? Do we have CCP Veritas with a microphone?
Yes.
What's up?
Go for it.
Wow.
I was just about to say, it was a
awesome.
good
I
expansion,
really
but it's not
liked it.
that good. Must be 1 or 2 questions.
Fantastic. Make the fatty run.
Yeah, I'd just like to feedback. Fuel blocks were a great addition. It's been needed for probably about 5 years now. So, on behalf of all logistics pilots, thank you.
Yeah. I think when it comes to POSes, of course, it's kind of difficult to talk about this because we have the keynote tomorrow. I don't
Yes.
want to.
We're not
I don't want to basically do my.
But we know there are issues
Yeah.
with pauses, and we're looking at it.
I think
Possibly.
one of the things that we did with POSes in Crucible, and I think we did it in a few other areas, is we take something that we really want to change, like POSes. POSes don't need fuel blocks. POSes need to be taken out and turned into something else. But the truth is, for a project like that, you have a massive burden in pretty much every field. I mean, if we do ship balancing, that's relatively simple. It's a game designer sits down, has some interaction with the players, but it's kind of a very approachable process. Redoing POSes, for example, that's going to be basically our entire art department working on it for a long time. It's going to be game designers, it's going to be programmers doing everything from scratch.
We're
And
going to need at least a team, 2 teams, and the entire art department
Yeah.
to touch that.
Very likely,
But
yeah.
it's not a little thing.
But I think instead of previously we used to say, we're not gonna touch that because we're gonna redo it later. I've become a really big fan of just doing band-aids and then doing it, because there's really no reason why, like, let's say Possus were to come out in 12 months or something. There's no reason to really have people suffer for 12 months. I mean, if people quit EVE Online because there's like all these small dials that we could just have tweaked to make their lives easier until we come up with a really good solution, then why not? And I think fuel blocks were definitely that. I mean, there's just, and I mean stuff like taking away jump bridge passwords and just like little things. Speaking of passwords, there was also the container password, and you had to type in the old one the first time you set a password, which was like the weirdest part of, like, I couldn't really navigate it myself. I was just like, what do I do here? It's the first time I don't have one. Do I file a petition or something? Just run downstairs and go like, I don't have a password to this one. I mean, just like stuff like that just, you know, small fixes. And it's funny because, sorry for just going off. We had an office tour yesterday that was won by Keldon from EVE University. And yeah, let's give them a hand. EVE University are pretty damn awesome. And the deal was that after the office tour, they could sit down and they could basically pitch a feature to us and basically go, this is what we really want. And I think when we started this contest, I was expecting something massive, like someone coming up and going like, we need elves. Elves on planets. And like, you're kind of afraid to get that, but like they sat down and they said like, this is the 20 things that we dislike about the Corp interface. And it's like, I would have never guessed that someone would have taken that particular thing, because if you're not using it, you don't really notice how awful it is. But they were just like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And some of it just flat out surprised me. Like, so there's things like being able to accept or reject multiple applications. I mean, that to me is a pretty good investment of our time. But then there's stuff that just surprised me, like being able to track who accepts and who kicks people. You can't do that. Like, how do you people get by without that? Like, if you have 3,000 people in your alliance and you have X people with rights to just kick people out and you can't track who does it, I was like, wow, that's just like, it surprises me. And I think that's like a perfect example of why Crucible was good, because it's all the small things that we might not notice when we get caught up in SOV or cap ships or all the big level stuff, that it's easy to forget the small stuff. And Crucible was basically the small stuff. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was probably the longest answer to a single question ever.
Those of us who trained Destroyer 5 would like to thank you for making them a little more relevant than they used to be. They're not exactly the most commonly shipped used, but they are a great deal of fun, especially now that you can take a courser and get it up to almost moderate battleship damage, even if it is an eggshell. But we really appreciate that.
I really, really love the destroyer change, because destroyers are I dislike. I'm not too hung up in what a ship does. I'm much more hung up if the price is wrong compared to what it does. And I think the destroyer is like superb value for money, and that's why I love it. Electronic attack frigates, for example. I like electronic attack frigates. I just hate their price. And I think if there's one thing that we absolutely got right, I think it was the destroyer one, because it just lets people easily get into PvP. Like, it's such a cheap ship, and you can just run in and shoot things, which at the end of the day is what we all want.
With the success of the smaller ship but larger guns, a la the destroyer change and the tier 3 battle cruisers, are you going to continue this mantra? Or are we going to end up with battleships with siege weapons?
It's funny you should mention that. It's funny you should mention that. There's two parts to it. I mean, first of all, we ran into a bit of trouble, because when we think up new ships, they're as awesome as we make them, but we also sometimes in game design maybe forget a little bit that we're not the only people in the world. So when the art department heard that we were putting these massive turrets on big ships, they were like, "You're doing what?" And so, I mean, I kind of want, I like the idea of having these massive glass cannons, but like with us changing turrets and launchers, we also kind of have to make, like, it has to visually make sense. And that kind of, at least, came up with that. And also when we're looking at stuff like stealth bombers and stuff like that, just redoing those components just becomes a bit of a pain. I do like it. I mean, we've been talking about some sort of dedicated anti-cap, like I mean, and might not be in this entire form, but we've been talking about making Black Ops, for example, an anti-capital bomber, something like that. Sure, I mean, big guns on small ships are kind of awesome, but nothing concrete though. But yeah, definitely, it's a nice concept.
I've got a question from one of my court members back home. We love the new nebula, but why don't we get any for the wormhole dwellers?
That's a very good question. It's not on the cards just now, I'm going to be honest. We have some other art things that we're working on. I would save that question for the art panel, because, you know, I don't want to step on their toes. They're bigger than me.
I can make something up though.
No, don't make something
All
up.
right.
Ice Gear will kill you.
All right.
I have a question about the fuel blocks. There's different types of fuel blocks, 4 of them. The only difference visually is a tiny frame around
Yep.
the fuel blocks. I've always wondered why you guys didn't just give the block itself, that is now blue, different colors depending on what the race it belongs to, which I would imagine makes it much easier to visually distinguish between them.
Yes. I think you're right. I
I
don't
tend to agree.
remember the reasoning for it.
I can't remember for the life of me, but it's a good, something we can look into.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little 2D icon. Obviously, not going to make any promises, but, you know, just grab Grayscale when you see him. It doesn't matter.
As you said about the small ship with bigger guns, is the Blackbird coming back with the siege missile launchers? And the second thing is it possible to like make fleet locking, because I'm tired being on auction house all the time on TeamSpeak. It's like crazy. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm trying to play EVITs hard enough, and I'm trying to like find names of maybe hundreds. It's pretty hard.
The fleet locking thing. So I'd rather go the other way. I think we've maybe automated too much. I know that that stuff like warping fleets and stuff like that is really, really useful. But I think in the end, it kind of detracts from like, so right now we just have a load of people, like you bring 2,000 of your closest friends to fight someone who also has 2,000 of his closest friends. And like the strategy element is kind of off. Like you said, someone's going to be yelling, primary this, primary this, primary this, primary this. And I think part of that is like our access to automation of something, but also perfect information. Like you have everything in the overview, you can warp the fleet. Kind of the element where a better run fleet does better than another fleet that's not run as well has kind of gone lost. And I'd be really afraid of putting auto-locking in. If anything, I'd rather cut off information. Have you guys ever seen it's a Star Trek simulation game called Artemis? It's basically like a few dudes with laptops, and everyone has like a different role on the bridge. And they don't have access to the information they need. So someone will communicate that you need to do this with the shields, and the other guy will do it. And the other guy will go like, well, we need more speed, and someone will do it. And like on one hand, it's so nerdy that you cringe a little bit.
No.
But on the other hand, you're also secretly thinking, that's so goddamn badass. And that's great because we have this situation where you don't have access to perfect information. And the skill level comes from people being able to work together. And I think that's completely lost in fleets today. And I think it's a great shame. If anything, I'd just cut information out and make people talk more, maybe in a more constructive way than yell primary this, primary this, primary this. But no, I wouldn't be very much in favor of of the group lock thing. I think the only thing that's really preventing me from taking fleet warp out is that I'm pretty sure I'd get stabbed. Did someone go yep in the back rows? All right, now I'm certain. Could be. Also, like to get, do you remember the Eve is real thing with the guy telling about the fleet thing, and he was the warp in point and all that stuff? And that's how Eve was once. Like, that was fun. That's what I did in frigates. Like, I didn't have any skills, so I'd just get a frigate micro warp drive, and me and 10 other new people would just fly towards, and one of us would make it, and the fleet would come in, and that was kind of cool. And that I miss as well. Like, yeah, more manual flying of the spaceships, because I think that's kind of the game.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cool bookmarks. We love it.
Which one?
Okay. Corporate bookmarks.
Yes.
Thank you. Wormhole
Yes.
love it. Absolutely love it.
I
Are
know.
we going to see this implemented on Alliance level as well?
Yes. So that's a really good point. That is absolutely the plan. I don't know when we're going to grasp it, but the idea was definitely to take it to an Alliance level. I mean, this was basically just a test bed. And also, there's a guy here who has 50,000 bookmarks. Are you in the audience? You are that guy. We're talking about setting restrictions on how many you could have, and we got like some data on the people.
Is that a literal number, 50,000?
Yeah.
Yes, he's talking about you. 23 is not 50.
Do you have 23,000?
Yes.
Ow.
4. See, like we got the data on you basically. And they were like, no, people usually just have like 10, but this guy has so many. Actually, out of curiosity, what do you use are some of them just defunct old ones, or do you actually use them? Now I'm going to ask you questions instead.
First, before I answer that, I
Yeah.
want to remind you that warping around within a system, players are explicitly limited to warping to either celestials, mission locations,
Yeah.
fleet mates. If they're on grid with the target, then large collidal objects, or bookmarks. Right? So if you don't have bookmarks in a system, you are limited as to where you can go within that solar system. I used to play around with the Poseidon method before that got broken in Tyrannus. With the introduction of incursions, the incursion site beacons are scattered very far out throughout a solar system. So if you jump into a system and you right-click each of those beacons and
Yeah.
save that as a location,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden you have a much wider envelope within which to create safe spots in between those points.
All right.
It gives you a lot more volume to hide
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
Or to do things like create a far bounce bookmark on the far side of a Stargate, so
Yeah.
you can warp to the far bounce and
Yeah.
then warp to the Stargate at 0, and hopefully avoid maybe, say, the smart bombing battleship that was expecting you to come in directly from another gate.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been collecting those bookmarks. The vast majority, actually the simple majority of my bookmarks are incursion site beacons.
All right. All right. Sure.
Let's talk
That's
about
pretty
bookmarks.
awesome, though.
Yeah.
You basically have safe spots everywhere.
Of course,
You're the safest man in Eve.
Of course, now since there's the 13,000 limit, I have to keep a backup copy of my alts and
I'm in the career guide as a COVOPS pilot, and basically, every time you go through a system, you take 2 right away. The warp gate you're going from to, so that's 2 right there. You tend to do a dock if you own the station. You're going to get your pause. You're going to get safe spots
Yeah.
between that are basically off grid. If you can get off 14 AU, you're probably going to do a 4 AU above 4
Yeah.
AU. You're going to go ahead and do tacticals on every single gate from multiple directions. You're going to go ahead and do tacticals on your pauses, on your enemy pauses, on your stations. You can rack up 25 in a system relatively quickly. So if you run bombers, it's
Yeah.
even crazier because you got to do warp outs
Yeah.
for those. So that's how it adds up. So
It might just be my OCD, but I clean them out. Like when I'm done with them and I can't use them, I just have to. I can't like
there's
sleep
no
at night.
reason to
if I
clean
don't.
them out ever because you might be back. Let's put it this way. How many times have people been kicked out of space, left, and then decided to reinvade, and you have all your bookmarks?
Fair enough. Sorry? I think it slowed everything. We had the whole 80 minutes opening a can with bookmarks.
As a server guy, I hate bookmarks.
Yeah.
What's the ETA on missiles, actual modules on the ships?
This summer?
I'm not going to say a word on that one.
All right. Sometime.
It's a good answer.
Sometime. They are working on them right now, and they look magnificent.
I know.
Sometime.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into trouble.
Forget it.
So congratulations on time dilation. You fixed a broken game. Congratulations.
That guy.
But do you think that people will now do clock games when they will try to dilate the time for a fight into another time zone? For example, European time zone to US time zone. Did you think about that? Will it be a problem?
I think that, like that heavy abuse of it, I don't think so. I mean, you might have an advantage from delaying a fight. You might have an advantage for delaying a fight for a short time, but being able to dilate it that much, has it happened? I don't know. All right. No, has it?
Pushed it 2 hours. 10% dilation for 2 hours. 1,600 people in systems. What are you going to do?
I don't know if that's
It's
amazing
not
or
quite-
really dickish.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with amazing. I think that's a pretty that's one of my favorite things. Whenever we do something new, someone always finds some great way of using it.
I just want to see people break our stuff.
Yeah, a
It's,
little
it's
bit.
always hilarious.
A little bit.
Oh, no.
We incursions. Was it Goon Fleet that ran the low-sec one and sold basically slots to incursions, and when people paid and came out, they blew them up? That's like,
God, you gotta love those goons.
if we just, I don't know, it's just everything we throw out is just like, it's just commonly accepted that it's not going to be used really the way we wanted it to. Maybe the large majority of people will, but there's always some subset of people that time dilate 2 hours or have 25,000 bookmarks or something, and it's it's cool. I like it. I don't want to predict everything. If we predict everything, I think it becomes slightly boring.
All right. My question is, are there any small fixes or small features that you want to put in, but there are very deep-seated technical reasons where development time would far exceed the amount of effort? I'm thinking
Yes.
something like the session, getting rid of the session change timer you mentioned, technical reasons why you couldn't just get rid of it. But what about like changing T3 rigs in space or subsystems in space or other things like that?
So one example I can tell you right now is something I feel I've been pretty good on delivering when I say we're working on this. The only one thing that just constantly haunts me that it looks like will basically not get done for that reason is bookmarks on overview. Like, I really want you guys to be able to have them on overview just because it makes sense. Like, everything else is there. And that's something that we just seem to just run our head against the wall constantly with. And I promised it last year, and then I promised it again and again. And now I'm just going to say we're not going to do it in the foreseeable future just because, well...
Being one of the people that you promised it to, and I was let down. He let me down. What can I say?
I actually
but
told
yeah,
him last week, those bookmarks.
Yeah, he told me last week that it's not happening. And
So
more-
that's a bit of a mess. The Tech 3 subsystems, I think, is much more about doing it in a graceful manner, because we'd have to have some way. I mean, you'd have to put the ship back and change it. Changing it in space, having to live change the subsystems, I think might be a bit more difficult. But yeah, there's tons of stuff that to me as a game designer sounds small, but to a programmer is like who lives in reality is quite massive, because I have the luxury of not even being close to reality sometimes.
I know this is a Crucible Roundup, but I was wondering to know, is fleet formations going to have some love anytime soon? And if mechanics would actually allow that fleet formations would have a difference and an impact while in a battle?
I'm not a big fan of formations, and it's mostly because no one's ever been able to give me a good answer on why we should do them. Like, mechanics of yeah. Battle would allow to make a difference. Yeah. You are in formation. Yeah. And would have a good reason to look at. Yeah. But I mean, why would it give you an advantage? Yeah.
In Goonstorm, we do a logistics anchor.
Yeah.
Where we have the main fleet separated.
Yeah.
And I do the logistics anchor. But basically, the idea is that you stay away from the enemy fleet and out of their optimal. If you're going to go against tangoos and like that,
yeah.
unless you're on stuff. But if you're going into battles, you
Yeah.
can go ahead and stay well out of the range.
Yeah.
That way, there's not a focus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, now you're done.
I'm done. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is a Veritas workout program here.
But I mean, like, why is the benefit rooted in somehow how flying in some sort of proximity compared to what you're actually doing? I mean,
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't believe formations are necessary, but there are definitely some ways that can be used. Do you have an example?
I think it came from like formation flying looking really, really good, and then we kind of felt forced to put something on. So people are like, yeah, I mean, if they fly closer to each other, they'll get a 50% damage bonus. And it's just like, it feels arbitrary.
Yeah,
like, it feels fake.
You know, having mechanics base around these formations kind of takes away from you guys doing your own thing with the mechanics that we already provide, and then setting stuff out the way you want it, instead of us saying, this is where you have to do it for the best benefit. It's a little too rigid for what EVE is.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on it.
If you're flying stealth bombers, formation could be really, really awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who fly stealth bombers in groups basically fly formations already. Or, well,
another one that could be helpful if you could change the size of the ball. When you land on a gate with 100 guys, you have a ball. The fleet FC could define that level ball. You could avoid bombers that way. That would be an example that could be, it would be game breaking at that point, but.
Can someone make Brian run up the stairs, please?
Die in a fire.
The new UI is nice. I want to ask, any chance to give us back the button to remove the chat button from it?
The which button?
The chat.
Oh,
button.
the X that just takes the chat away.
I mean, from the UI, which
Yeah.
is on the left side, I just right-click and remove it, like any other button, like market, fitting, screen, and just chat button.
So just completely remove chat?
Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, we could turn it
switch.
into a neocom fixture. So if you want to just be alone, you click it off. If you want it again, you just drag it in from the neocom. Yeah, I think that's
a pretty good idea.
Fairly good idea. We actually have that on the development clients, and it freaks me out because I can never remember how to bring it back. And I'll misclick, and then I'll be like, shit. But yeah, let's
Pass me on down. Outsourcing.
Yeah, I got a question about the corp roles. You mentioned about changing corp settings and that sort of things. Is there anything going to change about how to set roles and titles to members? Because that hasn't changed in the last 6 years.
No, I'm deathly afraid to touch it. That system, like another example of something we need to redo.
Yeah, we know it needs work, but it's a big ass job.
Yeah,
we do want to work on it, but I'm kind of scared to look under the hood of this one.
Yeah,
there's probably diseases though.
So basically, there's nothing been done about that, and nothing going to be done about it in the
No.
near future.
I mean, let's see. I mean, we did get a load of good ideas from Eve University on small improvements, so there might be some, but
A dramatic
I hate that
overhaul.
system.
You know, it's I don't know.
If it was a person, I'd punch it.
Let me guess. You're afraid that you're going to make one sort of change in roles, and then all of a sudden, junior accountants unintendedly have the ability to disband the corps.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
that's pretty much it.
Hi, I was wondering, the battle cruiser tier 3, wonderful, yeah. And I was wondering, do we get like a pirate battle cruiser in the future?
Yeah, that would be cool.
It'll be shiny.
So has Guillaume done his ship balancey thing?
He's not on his ship balancing thing yet, but he will be.
All right. There's going to be a session where that's going to be a really good question. And I kind of don't want to steal his thunder, but like the gist of that session is that we're going to look at like the entirety of Eve and map out where the holes are. And that is definitely one of the holes.
Yes.
And, battle cruisers are super popular. They're a great ship. They're kind of like a transition E-ship. So yeah, why not? Cool.
Question kind of relating back to the one about the corporate roles and the legacy code that's still in the game. I know you guys did a lot of back-end updating to that, make it easier for you to make changes, but are you still running into that, kind of headbutting into the legacy code nobody understands anymore?
Sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of really good people doing changes. Like, I don't know if you guys were here for the Crime Watch session. Where we have Jamie, who's basically redoing that one. Veritas has been doing the optimization server side, now working on the client side. So, I mean, hopefully less and less. I mean, it's getting into a really, really good place. They're doing a pretty good job.
We're always going to hit a few stumbling blocks, but the guys can always overcome them.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of time. Eve's 10 next year. Lots of people have worked on it. There's always going to be a few things that slip through the cracks, but nothing's insurmountable.
No, the biggest limitation, I guess, is like labor laws for programmers. I'd love to keep them 18 hours a day, but
There aren't labor laws for programmers. They're not real people. Oh, balls.
no. But they're doing wonderfully, and less and less.
Not sure about you.
You love me.
No.
All right.
It's going to be very nice. So with Crucible, most of the people who have our big tech stores were waiting with bated breath for tech to be rebalanced. I think especially with the balances to Titans, people have been really addressing the things that are clearly broken and not really logical in terms of balance. So I've talked to you previously lightly about this in the past, but I really want to see what both of your opinions are on moon minerals and teacher production and the balance of tech.
Wow, that's kind of, yeah. I was chatting to various people about this
Yeah.
on Wednesday. I lose track of time.
Yeah.
I was talking to John. What's John's dev name?
Turfield?
No, big, tall John. Lando.
Oh, I was about to say Carnifex, but Unifex.
Carnifex, oh, you've got it bad. Yeah, so I was chatting to them about, moon minerals anyway. And, I don't want to say too much, but yes, we're aware that moon minerals are a massive problem. But we want to look at it and take our time coming up with a solution because we don't want to just do something and break everything. Because
I might end up touching on tomorrow.
Yes, you're probably going to touch on that. This is why I'm being vague.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no doubt we need to do stuff. But no, I'm going to say this in the
Save
keynote.
it to tomorrow.
I'm going to say, no.
It'll be more exciting.
I can't just do it now. We can just play the video of me saying this tomorrow.
Let's keep the anticipation.
Yeah.
Be exciting.
Make it exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the UI scaling, by the way, because my eyes aren't all that great. But
I know how you feel.
One of the things I've been wondering about is why don't we just have an option for an overlay for who's in local instead of having to bring up your local and take up a third of your screen?
Oh, all right.
For the chat.
I don't know if I'm giving too much away, but we're looking at different ways you can structure the information in local to make it easier, because right now it's just like a big jumble of things. But there will be some sorting and some stuff coming. But That's for. Then we run into the stabbing problem again.
Yeah.
When you're making a new character and actually want to join a corporation or alliance, you cannot tick in incursion corporations. I know they exist, but you cannot search for them that way. Is there something that can be done about it?
Yes. Okay. So I'm kind of shocked and stunned.
Part of this stage just fell out.
Yeah. So are you talking in the Corp Finder or? Yeah. When we put together the list, yeah, we must have left that off. Not gonna lie, we must have forgot it. So yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah, I was too distracted by the stage. I really went somewhere else.
He's not good with fast-moving things.
I got a question about alliances. When an alliance has bills to its, for example, its member corporations for the alliance maintenance fees, you basically have to rely on your corporate wallet to see if they actually paid.
Yes.
Is there, when you look at the wallets and the wallet types, there are things where you can see that the mechanism for billing someone is actually in there. When is that ever gonna come out? That we can actually bill someone and that they can pay for it.
I kind of want. So this partially falls down to the thing that Grayscale also talks a lot about, which is we need real alliances. That right now they're kind of a little bit tacked on, and at some point hopefully we'll do alliances so there'll be like an actual entity. And when we do that, I'd love to do that, and I think people should be able to bill for what they want. Of course, like you mentioned the alliance fee, and the alliance fee is a pretty mundane and very tangible thing that you can bill people for. But again, the interesting thing is throwing something out there and seeing what you guys make of it, because there might be some meta bill that everyone picks up that I haven't thought of, that there will be like a system tax or something else. And I think the interaction between alliances, if we just let people bill for whatever they want instead of just seeing you can pay this bill, I think that's going to be interesting. And I think that would be a cool addition if we make real alliances.
I was mentioning the bill as an example, but it's about billing everything, and not even within your alliance, but to another entity that you want to send a bill for. Work corps, for example, and that sort of things.
Or just bill everyone. Sit there all day and ask for money, and someone will inevitably be dumb enough to pay you. Send enough bills. That's like my good rule of thumb. You can make debt collection agencies. That would be cool.
I have to tell you, you got a lot of kudos on functionality, but after playing you for 5 years, I remember when I first started playing, I just turned off the lights, put on my headset, and watched my ship in space and enjoyed that. And I have to give you a big props for the first time I've done that again in 4 years was when Crucible came out. The game just looks fantastic. But my question is, Caldari and Galente ships got a lot of texture love, and they got some faction emblems. When can we expect that for the Amar and the Minmatar? And maybe Corp emblems?
I'll just shut up again.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say, I will say something. We are in the process of V3ing all these ships, which basically means we can start putting logos on there. So soon, TM. Shut up.
Oh, it's just going to make something up.
You're not allowed to just make stuff up.
All right. By the way,
yes.
Does someone else need this room at 4?
I don't know, probably.
All right, so should we do one last question?
One last question.
Just so other people can also.
Then we're going to do our song and dance routine.
Anybody else?
See, you guys are leaving us.
I think we got one over here.
One more.
I don't see anybody. You're up, Laura.
All right. So what are you doing for the future to make sure? I mean, it would be ideal to make this the last change to any of these features you do, but what are you doing for the future so that you don't end up with these technical, you're looking through stuff that nobody really understands when they go to redo these features again in the future?
I mean, for that, I think that's more of a technical.
Yeah, that's more of a coding standards.
Yeah.
I know that our technical director, very rigorous coding standards. Is he there?
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Speak to that guy. We make stuff
I can
up for a
always
living.
make something up.
Yeah, and no.
All right. Is that about it?
I think that's a span.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.